Hello and welcome to ARL Round 10 around Qatar. As I am getting ready to go out on a lap, as you can see, I was hoping for a really good lap since this was not my best track. Going into this race, I was not expecting to do at all well against these other drivers. I was hoping for just a podium finished on the third step or just about outside the podium, seeing the drivers I was going up against today and seeing their average lap times around this track. As we're going out on my out lap here, the setup I used was some random setup I had to find online like 30 an hour before the race, because I had no clue what wings to run. Should I run really high wings, really low wings? So I found a setup. I adjusted it a bit to my liking after asking for some advice on setup. And here, we're going onto my out lap. As you can hear me say, I say oh due to the host of the lobby getting disconnected. But moving on, I turn on my DRS, I use my ERS, going up the gears, into 8th, down the main straight, going into turn 1, going over the curb here on the left hand side to get as much turn in for the rotation, down into 4th gear, nice and good apex there. Going into the next corner, going into 5th gear, missing my apex, not a problem, going early on power to make up for it. Now going into this mini straight, going into 7th gear, will not make it into 8th gear, so getting ready for this double right hander, going into 5th, slightly missing my first apex, but nailing the second one, as we're about to head into the next hairpin. Going into 3rd gear, nice and early turning, too much curb, but got a good exit to make up for it. Going into the next section of corners, getting prepared, going wide to the left to get a better exit onto the right. Nice and early on the power, going over the curb to prepare myself for the next corner, which is a very fast right hander. Going from 7th gear down to 4th, keeping the power steady to these next section of corners. It's all flat. All of these next corners are flat. I just have to keep the steering wheel steady. As you can see, Ferrari on my right, getting out of my way. Aston Martin on my left, getting out of my way. Still holding down the power. Slight lift to this next corner, going into 6th gear, back up to 7th. Big lift into this next corner, going down to 6th gear, keeping the car steady on the track. Going into the final corner, 7th gear, down to 4th. Getting the power nice and early. Going into 5th, 6th, the DRS open, 7th. I forgot, and as you can hear me say, I miscalculated using my ERS. Meaning I lost a little bit power of the end of the straight there, but I still get provisional pole as for the moment. Now going into my final lap, I am slowing myself down because I see drivers on the straight. I do not want to be bumping into them during my lap, so I'm waiting, but I see a driver behind me, so I do have to speed up myself. Going to start my lap, I have to go slightly wide to give myself better acceleration down the straight. Going to 4th, 5th, 6th, DRS open, 7th, and now starting my hot lap on 8th gear. Now, let's see where I can gain time or lose time throughout this lap. Going wide into turn 1, slightly missing the apex, not a bother though, I still gain, I'm going green. Going into the second turn, I go into 4th gear hoping that will gain me time, but it doesn't, I lose time. Now going on to this mini straight, preparing myself for the next turn, 7th gear, going wide, 5th gear into this double right hander, hit the first apex, hit the second apex, preparing myself for the hairpin ahead, going into 3rd gear, but I slide, I lose a 10th of my time. This is not great. I get an alright exit, going through the next turn, slightly missing the apex, which is alright, I'll get a better exit, going onto the curb, preparing for the next turn, very fast right hander, 7th gear, going down into 4th, just slightly missing the apex, going into 4th gear, 5th gear, getting a good exit, going to 6th, 7th, into these fast right-handers where you don't have to lift. I'm gaining my time back where I lost it, but I don't know, will it be enough? This time going flat out through this corner, gaining half a tenth, going into the next corner, losing like 300s. Now going into the final turn, getting prepared to get a really good exit, going down into 4th, slightly wide to get a better exit. But is it going to be enough? I'm losing down the straight, and once again I forgot to turn the ERS modes down during the corners, losing me time and costing me provisional pole at the moment. You can tell I was probably angry, shouting at myself for doing some stupid decisions throughout the lap, making the mistake at the hairpin and not turning down the ERS modes through some corners so I could use it on the final straight. Now just to wait to see for qualifying results, I come in P3, Haas P2 and the Ferrari in P1 as it's shown on screen just now. Now, going into race strategy, it was gonna either be medium hards or hard mediums. I had both prepared. As you can see, I'm changing my strategy now. Medium to hard here. So, which one was I gonna choose? I was basing the decision off of the people around me, hoping to go alternate to them. As we're waiting for the lights, I chose the medium hard strategy. Only the two leaders ahead of me went hards, the guy behind me on mediums. Now, 4 red lights, 5 red lights, and holding the clutch in, letting go. Get a great start compared to the Ferrari. The Haas also gets a really good start. Going into their first turn, Haas is ahead of the Ferrari. The Ferrari trying to fight back. Going into 4th gear, through this turn, I tried to sneak it up the inside, letting the two fight now, hoping not to get involved in any incidents. But then I noticed the Haas is slow on exit. I use my battery. I go alongside the Haas, hoping to overtake the Ferrari, but I get boxed in by the both of them. Have to hold back. Side by side with the Haas, going through these double right-handers, losing me time to the Ferrari. As you can see, the Ferrari is pulling out ahead, and then I send it down the inside into the next turn, going slightly wide. But I get to keep my position, luckily. Now, just to hold these two off, but they're too far back, so I am quite safe from the attack. Also, the Haas and the Williams crash behind me. You can't see it on my POV, but on the race replay, I watched the back and them two crashed. Which means there's a virtual safety car. And as you can see, the Ferrari ahead of me is not slowing down at all for this virtual safety car. But as it just said at the bottom of the screen, right there, it says the Ferrari driver has disconnected. The AI is bugged and is driving recklessly under these virtual safety car conditions. And we get to virtual safety car ending. And as you can see, the Ferrari driver is about 12 seconds down the road, having no drive-through penalty to serve, and we return to racing speeds, like nothing ever happened. And as you can tell, I was quite furious with this. I don't know if he actually got a drive-through penalty or he didn't, or if my game was just bugged and not showing it to me. So we move on from that incident, continuing on with our race, seeing what we can salvage. As you can see, he rejoins the lobby, but with no extra punishment added to him. And as we're getting to the end of lap 3, you can see my tyres have about roughly 11% each on each tyre, which was not great for this medium tyre after 3 laps. So I have to be more careful with my tyres if I want to make my strategy work. As you can see, I'm maneuvering around these corners, then there's a yellow flag top right of the track. Rapid Connor out of the race, yellow flag turns into a safety car. Major turning point for all the drivers in this race. And as we skip to see me rushing into the pit to change my tyres, I wanted to go for a 2-stop strategy and get back into the race, once again. Now I'm slowing nice and early not to get any penalties, because it's quite tricky sometimes to get the car stopped in these pit lanes. I'm ready to press the turning button as I box for hard compound tyres to see if I can go from hard to soft to the end of the race. And as we're getting to the end of the pit lane, you can see I'm coming out in 5th position, which is not a bad loss of positions, just boxing for new tyres. As we're getting ready to skip ahead, I have an incident with this Aston Martin. He's going really slow under safety cars, so the game decides to let me past him. So I take my chance and I use it. I full throttle past Aston Martin. Aston Martin just sees me getting past him and tries to get back to position, but it does not work out for him. Now, as we're getting into the final safety car lap, we're all bunching up, getting ready to go racing, but the Aston Martin is still not happy about me taking the position. As you can see, he's trying to push his way through. Red arrow on the right hand side, showing he is side by side, still there, showing his intent to try to overtake me. Now, as we're getting ready to go racing, my teammate disconnects and reconnects right behind me. The game considering it an illegal overtake, having to let him back past. Aston Martin tries to overtake me as well. He also has to give the position back since it was an illegal overtake. And they go nice and early to catch us off guard while we were fighting. And as you can see, he slows down right on exit. Aston Martin hits me, Asks to give the position back since it was an illegal overtake before the line. Overtakes my teammate as well. He does not care. He is taking the position. But I go down in between my teammate and the Aston Martin, following the Ferrari and the Williams into turn 1 and keeping my position. And as you can see, the Ferrari and Williams going at it into each corner, side by side. I'm just holding back to see if I could get a sneaky move down the inside or the outside of each driver. Williams going slow. I tried to send it. He defends the position well, holding really well, but slowing me down through these corners just as much. Now, going into the hairpin, I tried to send it round the outside. Do not have enough time to do so. He holds the position well and keeps his foot in. Even though I'm using battery, I'm trying to overtake him. He's quite slow, slowing me down from the Ferrari. Not sure if he's doing this on purpose or he's just no pace. But moving on, I'm just really eager to get past this Williams, trying to see if I could get a move on in any of these corners, hoping to get a really good move into the final section of these corners. As you can see, the Williams is slowing down through these corners, holding me up. I'm getting good exits. Williams goes slightly wide, slowing me down. I have to brake, which is quite a rare instance in that corner specifically. Going into the next corner, I had such a better exit that I'm going to send it around the outside of the Williams. There's nothing he can do. He can just try to defend the position. I go wide, which means I get a better exit. He taps me on the back and we both come out unscathed. As you can see me desperately trying to defend the position as he's using his battery and trying to use my slipstream to get past, but I hold the position up until the first turn. Now, full focus was onto the Ferrari and trying to catch back up after losing a lot of time to the Williams. Now, a couple of laps later, lap 12, safety car comes out again. Someone retires on track, causing the safety car. Now this has saved my race and ruined the Ferraris ahead. After the safety car, I box for mediums to the end. So does the Ferrari, so does everyone else who had a spare medium tyre. As I'm going into the pits, thinking about what I will do towards the end of the race, how will I treat my car, how will I use my battery, how will I be battling against these two drivers, safely making it into the pits without a penalty, about a few seconds away from my turn-in, but you can see the Ferrari leaves his box and slows me down. Not too much effect on my race, but still, it slows me down. Changing my tyres down to the mediums, going out of the pits, coming back out in second. Literally everyone on track boxes for new tyres under this safety car. And as we're getting ready to go racing again, me behind the Ferrari, Williams behind me, all three of us ready to race each other once again off the line. 15 laps remaining in this race, and a lot can happen, a lot of incidents, a lot of overtakes. But as you can see, I'm getting really eager to overtake this Ferrari off the line. So is the Williams. I go behind the Ferrari. I have better straight line speed. He's not using battery, so I go side by side into the first turn. Go in, sending it, fourth gear, side by side with the Ferrari. Ferrari holds, but he doesn't hold enough. Loses the position. I'm in the lead of this race now. Going into fourth gear and going into the next mini straight. The Ferrari pushing behind me, trying to get that position back, sends it side by side into these double right-handers. I don't let him off easy, but he manages to do it. Get past, blocks me off. I don't get to send it now, round the outside. Try to hold my position, slightly turn into the Williams behind, but he does not get any damage, so it's completely fine, and he did not report it after the race. So, following the Ferrari through very closely to keep as close of a distance to him as possible. Heading into this section of corners, I noticed that I'm faster than the Ferrari, so I would keep this information until the end of the race. Coming up behind the Ferrari, I notice I'm having so much overspeed behind him that I have to slow down so I don't crash into him. But then the Williams behind me gets on top of me, and then there's a yellow flag behind. No safety car though, no virtual safety car either. Getting ready to go onto the straight, I am hoping to overtake this Ferrari by the end of the straight so I don't lose a position to the Williams. So I turn on my overtake for a split second, getting the slipstream behind the Ferrari, going side by side. But since our arrow is quite similar, we get evened out on space, and going into the first turn, we are quite side by side. Ferrari this time holding onto the position, not letting go of it as easily as the last time. As he sends it into the next corner, I have to hold back, but I get a switchback on him, hoping to be side by side. But the Williams going side by side. I have to send it onto the Ferrari, sending it to the next pair of corners, side by side for the first right-hander, side by side for the second right-hander. I will have a chance to send it round the hairpin, but I go and the Ferrari slightly locks up, meaning I lose a position to this Williams. Even though I try my best to get ahead of this Williams, the Williams is holding his line, goes wide, which means he'd get a better exit and gets ahead of me, just about. Now, as you can see, I would be very frustrated. I was very frustrated about this in the race. I was hoping the Williams wouldn't have held me up for a second time this race. But as you can notice, the Williams is keeping pace, even ahead of the Ferrari at this point, as you can see. Ferrari trying to keep up, using his battery. As you can see, he's flashing. That means he's on 10 or lower percentage of ERS, meaning I had a really good chance to still be in the fight of this race. I stay out of the dirty air of the cars ahead because my engine was overheating, especially when I was behind them in all of the corners. As you can see, the Ferrari is slightly losing pace, struggling to keep up pace with the Williams ahead. But will this turn out to be a game changer at the end of the race? Going on to the final straight, once again, I use DRS, ERS, trying to get past the Ferrari. Ferrari sends it on the Williams, I send it on the Ferrari, going 3 wide into turn 1. Me and the Ferrari stay ahead, Williams backs out. The Ferrari is just slightly ahead, Williams trying to send it back onto me. Ferrari wins the battle, but he does not win the war. Going on to the next straight, I'm hoping to send it on and again. I'm going, but I stay. I see the Williams behind me. He does not push me, so there's no need for me to force an overtake on this corner. Going into the hairpin, I do not overtake the Ferrari, and I fend off the Williams, who is right behind me. Going out of the corner, getting a good exit to keep up with the Ferrari, and the Williams gets an even better exit than me. Going through these corners, I am planning an attack onto the final few corners of this lap. Going out of my favorite corner of this track, trying to keep up with the Ferrari. Look, I'm gaining. I'm hoping to send it onto the Ferrari, onto the final corner. Because see how close I am to him. I keep gaining, but a slight mistake there. And I just lost too much pace to the Ferrari. I will not be able to send it on him, unless I get an amazing exit out of this corner, which I don't. And as you can see, the Williams goes off. He might have gotten another warning for that. But now, going on to this main straight, I have DRS, the Ferrari doesn't. I'm definitely going to be sending it, using my ERS, turning on the DRS, getting the slipstream from the Ferrari, going side by side, and going ahead of the Ferrari, using my ERS just to push me slightly bit forward. Going into turn 1, I am ahead, I am leading. It is lap 21 out of 29, and a lot is yet to happen. Heading into a later point in the race, we are heading into a back marker. It is the Aston Martin that tried to push us off earlier at the safety car restart. We're going into the final turn. We're going to get DRS over the Ferrari. Ferrari also has DRS, which means it will be much harder for him to overtake us on the straight. But will he be able to still, with this advantage that we have or not? As you can see, the Ferrari is pushing, but so are we. I'm using a bit of my battery just to stay ahead. But he's tucked into our slipstream. He definitely wants this position. He goes off to the side. He tries to send it. He sends it into the first turn, but I just cannot keep it side by side. And he just manages to edge ahead. Also, this Aston Martin has made me lose concentration, making me almost go off track and get a warning, which would have led to a penalty. So I quickly overtake him using my ERS so I can get him out of my sights and out of my mind. Now, heading into the double right-hander, I'm trying to stick with the Ferrari. He slightly goes wide. I don't know if he got a warning for that or not. Now, heading into the 23rd lap, almost the 24th, on the final corner, I am trying to catch this Ferrari. I am most definitely overtaking the Ferrari on the straight, trying to keep position. The Williams right behind me, trying to snatch the position as well. I go off to the side. I do not grab the Ferrari's slipstream, but I manage to catch him enough, so I use my battery just to help me out slightly and get ahead into the first turn. Now this is going to be a battle for the win until the end of the race. Me, this Ferrari and this Williams. It will be very close. Now going into the later part of this lap, I noticed in this section I was faster than the Ferrari and the Williams. So I decided to use my battery and try to get him out of DRS on this lap. As you can tell, I am pushing through these corners flat out, trying my best. Look at my battery, 80%. At the exit of this corner, I'm going to use even more. 6th gear, using battery. 7th gear, slight lift, but trying to get the Ferrari out of the DRS, and I think I just managed to get him out of the DRS for this straight, which meant quite a lot. That means he would have such a big pace loss advantage. I used battery on the straight just to get away from him even more, but he looked like he had more pace on the straight, either with ERS or his wings. Now for the rest of this lap, I just tried to keep my pace as high as possible so I could try and keep him out of the DRS for the next lap. This meant I had to make every corner perfect because he was faster than me in every single section except for that section at the very end. Now it was getting intense. Lap 27, 2 laps remaining after this. I am keeping my position. For the end of this race, I will try to stay in first position. It's not beneficiary to me to go behind this Ferrari anymore. The Ferrari is pushing. He has gained his time back over the laps, even using the DRS. If I wanted to win this race, I would need to make every single move perfect, not to make a single mistake, and not to get overtaken on the DRS straight. As you can tell, the Ferrari is doing everything perfectly, getting perfect exit, perfect turns, and he's just gaining so much to me that I can't keep him out of the DRS. Now, moving on to the final lap, I tried to break the DRS, use my ERS, trying to get as far away as possible from this Ferrari as I can. I will be leading into the first turn. I have too much of a gap for him to send it on me, unless he wants to take me out. Going into the first turn, I just know I need to keep my position until I get to the best section of this track. So, if I don't, I might lose this race. But if I keep my position, I have a really high chance of winning this race. Now, going into these double right-handers, keeping it nice and smooth, trying to keep my position. But then, as you can see, I look behind, the Ferrari has gone off and he's got a 3-second time penalty. I am ecstatic at this moment, but I don't know if that's going to get removed, if one of his warnings was a push-off by another driver. So I continue to push, going through these sections, I'm struggling. As you can see, bottom right, it says my tyre is exceedingly high. This means I could still get a puncture this race, but going out of this corner, I'm going to use all my battery to try and get away from the Ferrari. I am really quick in this section. Look at me, I'm putting away. I check my tyre wear, 71% on the left front. This means I still could get a puncture if I'm really unlucky. But I'm hoping this won't happen, so I'm pushing my car, pushing it to the limit, hoping it doesn't get a puncture. Going through the second final turn. I am really careful not to do anything stupid, not to get another warning or a penalty. Going through the final turn, 4th gear, 5th gear, using all my battery on exit, and it looks like I am gonna be the winner of the Qatar Grand Prix. What are the chances? Coming into this race, I was expected to come 3rd, 4th, maybe even lower, but surprisingly, I ended up winning the race. As you can tell, I was most probably very ecstatic about this win, jumping up and down in my seat. I was really proud of this accomplishment. Also, I'm really happy for my teammate who had disconnection issues and had to reconnect multiple times throughout the session. And as you can hear me there was a sigh of relief of the win. Quite happy with it, can't complain. It was a really tough race and we managed to get through it in the end. To round out this race, we will watch the podium celebration in silence. Moving on from the race, here we have the interviews. Hello.
Oh,
I don't.
you happy with that
Albert,
win?
I hope you get straight line next race.
Cheers.
I was literally begging Millie Waffle to just straight line you last corner.
Albert,
Yep.
What a win. Did you expect it?
Um, until that second safety car came out, not at all. I thought I was gone. Especially since like the first like lap, whenever that virtual safety car went off and Mini went off into the distance, and on my screen he didn't get a drive-through penalty, so I thought it was over since then. But it kind of came back to me towards the race, towards the
Yeah.
end.
Mini Waffle had an incredible gap after during and after the virtual indeed. Well, yeah. You said it was one of your worst tracks, and you were definitely not gonna get on the podium, but you proved yourself wrong.
Yeah,
Incredible, man.
quite surprised myself. I wasn't expecting to be in first place anyway.
Yeah. What a way to do this. I uh, I don't know. I don't really have much to ask you. Uh, as Enki is muted, so he probably doesn't have anything. So bit of a lackluster interview today, but hey, might be nice
A
getting
win
a
is a win.
rest.
Yeah,
A win is a win. It's incredible. It's incredible job for you. But and yeah, Mini Waffle was really close, but you just had more ERS.
yeah. I saw at like halfway through the race when we just pitted for mediums on the second safety car. He had like flashing lights at the back of his car, meaning he had low battery, and I was on 100% at that time. I was like, "How has this happened?" So I just saved the entire race until the final like 5 laps,
Yeah,
and I
it was a really smart move. It paid out.
yeah, and I noticed that I was faster in like the last sector each time, so I started to push with my battery there, but it didn't work out too well to get him out of the RS until the last lap when he got the penalty.
Yeah, it was a really close call. Good job, mate.
Yeah,
Enjoy your evening.
yeah. Cheers, you too.
Yes, have a good one.